Welcome to StoryVerse. Today, we journey to a divided Korea in 1953, where two childhood friends find themselves on opposite sides of war. What would you do if the person you once called family became your enemy? This is Cranes by Hwang Sunwån, a story of friendship, betrayal, and the fragile hope for peace. Set against the backdrop of the Korean War, this tale explores how shared memories can transcend even the deepest divides. Now, let's step into the world of Songzam and Tokche, two boys whose bond is tested by the cruelty of war. Beneath the high, clear autumn sky, just north of the 38th boundary, the village was quiet and alone. In the empty houses, there might be just a white coat on the dirt floor between rooms, leaning against another white coat. Old people, met by chance, would turn aside, pipes held behind their backs. And children, being children, turned away at some distance. Everyone's face was marked by fear. The area showed no signs of what might be called the broken remnants of the present conflict. But it somehow did not seem like the old village where he had grown up as a youngster. In the chestnut grove on the Black Hill, Songzam halted his steps. There he climbed one of the trees. It seemed as if he could hear from a distance the shouts of the old grandfather with the van. You little son of a guns, climbing someone else's tree again? The old grandfather with the van had probably passed away in the time since. He hadn't been among the old people encountered in the area so far. Holding on to the chestnut tree, for a moment, Songzam looked up at the blue autumn sky. Even without the branch being shaken, one of the remaining chestnuts opened and the nut slipped out and fell. As he reached the front of a house, the temporary headquarters for the public peace corps, he saw there was some young fella tied up in handcuff rope. It didn't seem to be anyone he had seen before in the village, so he went up close for a look at his face. He was stunned. Wasn't it his closest childhood friend, Tokchai? What was going on? He asked the public peace corpsman who had come over from Kwante with him. Was chairman of the Farmers Collective Committee. This one was, caught hiding out in his own house. Zongzam squatted down there on the dirt floor, a lighted cigarette in his mouth. Tokshay was going to be sent off to Shondhan. One of the Public Peace Corps members was going to take him. Lighting a new cigarette from the one he had just finished, Songzam stood up again. I'll take this son of a bitch. Tokshay all this time kept his face turned away and did not even try to look in Songzam's direction. The two came out of the village. Songzam smoked one cigarette after another. The cigarettes seemed to have no flavor. He just kept drawing the smoke in deep and letting it out. After a while, the thought came to him that this Tokche fellow, he might want a cigarette too. He remembered when they were young, how they would make cigarettes out of pumpkin leaves and smoke them behind the wall, so the grown-ups wouldn't know. But how could he offer a cigarette to the guy like this one, today? Once, when they were young, he had gone with Tokche to swipe chestnuts from the old grandfather with the van. It had been Songzam's turn to climb the tree. Next instant, the old grandfather was shouting at them. He slipped and fell out of the tree. The chestnut burrs pierced his backside, but they just ran. Only when they had gone far enough so the old grandfather with the van couldn't follow did he turn his backside to Tokche. It hurt like anything, pulling out the chestnut burrs. He couldn't help the tears that trickled down. Tokche suddenly reached out with a fistful of his own chestnuts and stuck them in Songzam's pockets. Songzam threw away the cigarette he had just lit. He makes up his mind not to light another while escorting this fellow, Tokche. They reach the hill road. The hill is where he and Tokche had gone all the time to cut. Let's take a pause here. Notice how Hwang Sunwån introduces the tension between Songzam and Tokche. Their reunion is not one of joy, but of stark contrast. Songzam, now a soldier, and Tokche, a prisoner. Yet, beneath this surface of enmity lies a shared past. The chestnut tree scene, where Song recalls their childhood mischief, is a powerful reminder of their bond. This moment sets the stage for the story's central question: can friendship survive the brutality of war? The tone here is key. Nostalgia mingles with unease. Songzam's internal conflict is palpable. He's torn between his duty as a soldier and his loyalty to a friend. Hwang uses this duality to critique the absurdity of war, where individuals are forced to choose between humanity and ideology. Back to the story now. Further, until 2 years before liberation, when Songzam moved to a place near Shonte, south of the 38th, Song, overwhelmed by sudden anger, gave a shout. You son of a... How many people have you killed so far? Only then does Tokche look over, then lower his head again. Son of a bitch, how many people have you killed? Tokche raises his head and turns his way. He shoots a look at Songsam. His expression turns darker, and the edges of his mouth, surrounded by his dangling beard, quiver and shake. So, that's how you kill people? Son of a bitch. Somehow, Zongzan's heart feels relieved at its core, as if something blocking it has eased and fallen loose. But some guy gets to be vice chairman of the Farmers Collective Committee. Why didn't you run off? Hiding out with some secret mission? Tokche says nothing. Go ahead, tell the truth. What sort of mission was it you were hiding out to do? But Tokche just keeps walking silently along. Clear enough, this one is feeling caught. It's good to see their faces at a moment like this. But he keeps his face turned away and doesn't look over. Grasping the pistol that he carried at his waist, Songzam says, it's no use trying to defend yourself. You're going to be shot, no doubt about it. So you might as well tell the truth right here and now. Without turning his head, Tokche replies, there is nothing to defend myself about. I'm just the son of a dirt poor farmer. I'm known as a guy who can handle the hard work. And that's why I was made vice chairman of the Farmers Cooperative Committee. If that's a crime to get killed for, there's nothing to be done about it. All I'm good at, all I ever was good at, to stay alive, is digging in the dirt. He pauses for a moment. My father is laid up now. It's half a year already. Tokche's father was a widower, a poor farmer getting old, caring just for his son, Tokche. 7 years ago, his back had already given out, and his face was covered with age spots. You married? A moment. And, yeah, married. Who with? Short stuff. No, short stuff? This is great. Short stuff? Kind of fat, and too short to know the skies were high, just how wide the earth is. Sort of a loner. They hadn't liked that, so he and Tokche, together, they used to tease her all the time and make her cry. And now Tokche had gone and married short stuff. So, any kids? The first is coming this fall. At this, Songzam couldn't keep himself from laughing. He was the only one who had asked with his own mouth if there were any kids. But when he heard that the first was coming this fall, it was almost more than he could bear. Even not pregnant, Short Stuff's little body had a tummy almost too big to reach around. But realizing this was not the time to laugh or make jokes about such a thing, he says, but don't you think it's suspicious, you hanging around, not trying to get away? I thought of trying to get away. They said when they came up for the South this time, all the men, all of them would be caught and killed. So all the males between 17 and 40, they were made to go north. I thought of getting away too, even if I had to carry my father on my back. But he said no, he couldn't. Where would a farmer go and leave the farming? And besides, My father, he grew old doing the farming, trusting in me. I wanted to be the one to close his eyes with my own hands. People like us, all we know is working the earth to stay alive. What good would it do us to run away? Last June, it was Song Sam who had fled. He had told his father secretly at night that he was going to flee. Song Sam's father had said the same thing then. If farm workers left the farming, where would they go? So Song Sam had fled alone. As he wandered the strange streets and hamlets of the south, always in his head was the farm work he had left to his old parents and young family. But fortunately, they were all as healthy now as they had been then. They crossed the ridge of the hill. Now it was Song Sam who walked along with his face turned away. The autumn sun was hot on his forehead. He thought, a day like this, the weather was perfect for threshing. As they came down from the hill, Song Sam gradually slowed down and halted his steps. Over in the center of the fields, looking like some people wearing their white clothes, back bends, surely that was a flock of cranes. The place that had become the demilitarized zone along 30th parallel. Even though people had stopped living there, it was still a place where the cranes continued to live as before. Once, when Tokche and Zongzam were about 12, without the grown-ups knowing, the two of them had set a trap and caught a crane. It was a Dangjon crane. They had tied it up, even its wings, and every day the two of them would come and stroke its neck, ride on its back, making a fuss over it. Then one day, they heard the grown-ups in the area whispering about something. Someone had come from Seoul to shoot a crane. He even had some permits from the government general for collecting specimens. The two had run off down the road. Let's take another pause here. As Songzam and Tokche walked toward the execution site, the story delves deeper into their shared history. The cranes they once freed together become a powerful symbol of their lost innocence and the possibility of reconciliation. Hwang's use of the crane is deliberate. In Korean culture, cranes represent peace, longevity, and the soul's transcendence. Their reappearance in the story signals a fleeting hope for unity in a divided land. Yet, the tension remains. Songzam's anger and Tokche's silence reflect the weight of their circumstances. Hwang masterfully portrays how war erodes trust and forces individuals into roles they never chose. The question lingers, will Songzam let his humanity prevail, or will he succumb to the demands of war? Back to the story now. It did not matter that the grown ups might find out and give them a scolding. All they could think was that their crane must not die. Without stopping to catch their breath, they crawled through the weeds to untie the lasso around the crane's legs and loose the rope from its wings. But the crane could hardly walk, probably from being tied up for so long. Holding it together, the two of them heaved the crane up in the sky. Suddenly, there was a shot. The crane flapped its wing 2, 3, 4 times, then sank down again. Had it been shot? But at the next instant, as another Tangjon crane spread its wings wide in the bushes right beside them, their own crane, the one that had come down to earth, stretched out its long neck, gave a cry, and flying up into the sky, sweeping in a circle over the heads of the two boys, vanished into the distance. For a long time, the two boys could not take their eyes away from the blue sky into which their crane had vanished. Hey, time for us to go crane hunting, Songzam suddenly announced. Tokche was stunned, not knowing what was going on. I'll make a snare with the rope here. You chase a crane over. Songzam had untied the rope and was crawling away into the weeds. The color drained from Tokche's face. The words flashed through his mind from just before. You're going to be shot. Soon a bullet would come down from where Songzam had gone crawling off. Songzam turned his head back toward him. Hey, What are you waiting for? Chase a crane or something over here. At last, Tokche understood and began crawling through the weeds. Just then, two or three cranes, their huge wings spread, went soaring through the clear autumn sky. In cranes, Hwang Sunwån compresses layers of meaning into a deceptively simple narrative. At its heart, the story is about the enduring power of friendship and the hope for reconciliation in a divided world. Through Songzam and Tokche's journey, we witness how war distorts relationships and tests the limits of humanity. The story's sharp irony and the poignant symbolism reminds us of the fragility of peace and the resilience of the human spirit. In just a few pages, Wang captures a universal truth. Even in the face of division, shared memories can bridge the deepest divides. Thank you for exploring this profound and timely story with us. At StoryVerse, we believe in the power of literature to illuminate the human condition. If you enjoyed today's journey, subscribe for more stories that challenge, inspire, and resonate. Until next time, may you always find courage to write your own narrative.